Does your lead shoulder ache every time that you finish a round of golf? Do you have all these different tools and tricks that you try and use just to get that pain to go away? Well, a lot of times this can be an issue lower down in the body during the swing. Today, I'm going to show you the mechanics of how lead shoulder pain starts to happen for the golfer, and I'm going to give you 3 exercises that you can use today to fix it. All right, so the first big thing that is not the shoulder but can impact the shoulder during the golf swing is actually trail hip internal rotation. So this is something that when you're a righty golfer is in their backswing, right? That this is the trail side, this is the lead side. So if you have internal rotation deficit, meaning that you can't, this is internal rotation, if you can't internally rotate your hips here, what happens is your shoulder has to, you'll come back in the swing, you'll get to about here, and then these hips don't move. Well, your shoulder, your lead shoulder has to now find that distance all the way back here. And then a lot of times, because you're not really getting much power because you can't turn, right? What's happening is you have to then muscle through the shot with that shoulder. So you're getting a lot more range of motion with the shoulder, all because your hips can't turn. So now watch me with a full hip turn, right? And then I'm able to get all the way back, right? Now with not so much of a hip turn, I kind of have to do this and reach for it, and then I have to pull through. So that little bit of motion can make it so your lead shoulder has to work a lot harder. All right, another thing that can cause an issue for golfers for their lead shoulder is actually if they early extend. So if you're a golfer and you've watched any amount of YouTube on how to fix your swing, early extension is a problem for a lot of things. Bad contact, bad swing plane, all that stuff. But it can also be an injury-inducing characteristic of your swing. So early extension is just when you, I'm hitting my couch, is when you come back, and then as you come up, you kind of extend, you early extend your hips through the swing. So you have to kind of reach for the ball. Okay. Now, obviously that's bad because it's hard to control your plane of your swing, all the stuff that really good instructors will tell you. But as a physical therapist, it's important for me to point out that that reaching, that pulling makes it so that that shoulder has to do a lot more work to kind of control the ball. And you lose power when you early extend. So anybody who's trying to hit the ball far will feel that loss of power, and then they'll try and fight through here, and they'll do all this extra motion with the shoulder that just, again, over a long time on the range or a few really big swings of your driver can be a problem. All right, and the last thing that can really cause an issue with your lead shoulder is actually really poor timing between your hips and your upper body or your shoulders, right? So to keep it simple, I'm just gonna say hips and shoulders. People will say sternum and pelvis, whatever you want. But what happens is you'll come up here, right? And if everything goes at once, right? What happens is your arm and your shoulder and everything is contracting all at the same time, and you're trying to get power out of here and everything because you want to explode at the ball at the exact time. What you should be doing is working on, we call it a trebuchet effect, where the hips will go first, then the body comes through, then the hands come through, and then you whip the ball down the fairway, right? Now I just cupped there, so don't do that, but it's slow motion. But if you time everything all at once, like that, right, then your shoulders don't get to nicely, freely follow your body and then release the club. They are part of the force generation, right? And that is almost always the issue with shoulders, is that when you're force generating from the shoulders, you'll get more pain. So when we have golfers that have issues with either rotating their hips, early extending their hips, or they're just not timing to get that nice swinging effect, we almost always will look at the hips whenever we have a shoulder issue in the golfer. All right, so the first thing that we want to look at is how to get internal rotation on the trail side. So if you look through a bunch of my videos, I have shorts and reels and things like that that will definitely work on hip internal rotation. The most Go-to one is the 90-90 position on the ground, so you can look through that. But the best one that I think for now to look at, especially if we're working on really turning in, is the lunge with rotation. So what you do is you lunge down like this, and you try and turn into that hip. You really work that rotation into the hip and then come back, okay? You can do this as a walking lunge going forward if you're in a gym, but that being able to come in and turn will really help you kind of open and turn that pelvis in, and you really wanna keep the knee straight as you do it. Other variations of this involve being able to stand on one leg and being able to turn, maybe with a weight in your hand or a cable, anything like that. But anything where you're waiting and turning will mimic that waiting and turning that you're trying to do in the swing. All right, so the next drill I usually use for early extension. And the problem here is sometimes people don't get their butt out far enough so that they can use their glutes. So what I do is I take your club, put it at your belt buckle, maybe go 3 inches down, okay? And then from here, you push back. That is right around where your femur bone and your pelvis fold in the address position. If you notice, my spine is staying pretty straight, right? And you can really feel your butt cheeks doing the work, okay? Now this is the position that you want to stay in through all that turn, right? And then coming through. So you can just come down here, then turn, 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 and just get used to your butt staying in one position. Almost as if I put the club here and I didn't want my butt to come off the wall as I'm turning, or come off the club as I'm turning, okay? So that's a nice little drill to get you to feel what it feels like to turn your body while keeping in good golf posture, not early extending. Now this can also be a good one for hip timing, working on what we said before of the posture, pulling back like that. But one way that you can work on making sure that your hips can move without your shoulder coming. So when we were talking about how everything comes at once and that puts strain on the shoulder, this allows you to move your hips without moving your shoulders. So you take that club, put it across your chest, get in a position as if you were to be using a 5-iron, right? So not too high, not too low, nice and controlled here. And then what you're trying to do is you're trying to turn your hips while that club stays level, okay? Not this, right, where everything's coming together. What you're trying to do is teach your body how to turn your lower half without turning your upper half. Okay, give it a try. You can do that in the mirror so that you get some feedback to know if you're doing it right. The other thing that you want to watch for is that you're not kind of shoving over like this. That's just moving your knees, okay? What you want to be able to do is spin kind of your lower thoracic spine while your shoulders stay able to do what they need to do. If your lead shoulder pain has been holding you back, don't just grind through the pain. Use these 3 fixes to hit longer, hit stronger, and swing pain-free using good mechanics. If you like this video, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel and learn more about how you can help get yourself pain-free and enjoy the sport that we all love.